Well, obviously we know what's going on in current events. What may or may not be coming up tomorrow. Who knows? The thing keeps getting delayed. But I don't mean to be callous. I don't mean to be a typical male. I have to question her title. Right? I mean, I'm with Dr. Blasey Ford. I support her. I feel for her. But, you know, waiting all this time just as he's heading into the confirmation hearings, and then she brings all this stuff up. Why didn't she just do this a long time ago? It's kind of disturbing, really. I mean, is this a smear campaign? Is this just some kind of a ploy by the Democrats to make sure that he doesn't get confirmed? I'm not really sure. I mean, what's with this timing? I don't know. But let's look at another woman, one that we didn't mention in the readings. It was actually the other option for Old Testament readings, coming from the book of Esther. Okay? So let me give you the Reader's Digest version of Esther. So there's a king, Ahasuerus, and he's known as King Xerxes, right, to the Persians. It's the Persian king. He's defeated the Babylonians. He's got the Jews there in, not so much in captivity, but they're living among the Persian people, those who didn't choose to go back to Israel, what was left of it. And so he has this wife. And his wife, when he summons her, because only the same king can summon somebody, right? He summons her, and she's like, "No, I'm busy with my friends. I'm not gonna come." And everybody says, "Wow, that's bad. I mean, everybody's gonna hear about this." And all the wives are going to start talking back to their husbands and telling them, "Yeah, not right now, I'm busy." And we can't have that kind of disrespect being set as the standard for this kingdom, so I think you should probably get rid of her. And so he does. He says, "Okay, you're no longer my wife. You're going to go out there and you have nothing to do with the kingdom." Right? He says, "But I got to find myself another wife." So he orders how it's going to be done, and he goes through all these women, and they take the 6-month period of putting these bath oils on their face and makeup and stuff and getting themselves prepped to go before the king. And finally he meets one named Esther that he says, "Yeah, this chick is pretty cool." And he takes her as his wife. Right? Now he doesn't know that Esther is a Jew. Okay? So she's living there as the king, or as the queen, but just like the other wives, she can't come until she's summoned. She has an uncle named Mordecai, who is kind of a big shot in the kingdom. He's, got a good name, and one day he overhears some people talking about an assassination attempt that they're going to make on the king. So Mordecai goes to the king and says, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute? I heard these guys talking about something. You might want to check into this." And so they find out that there was, in fact, a plot to assassinate the king, and they put down the rebellion before it starts. And the king is thankful. Well, the king has his right-hand man, his name is Haman. Haman is kind of cocky, he's kind of a jerk, he's got huge ego issues. And one day he's walking along as the king's right-hand man, and all the people bow down before him as a representative of the king, right? He walks by Mordecai, and Mordecai's like, "What do you got?" "No, I'm not doing it." So he gets ticked off. His pride, his ego are bruised. And so he gets ticked off and he says, "All right, I've got to do something about this." And his family says, "Well, you can't let this be. You know what? Build a gallows. You've got the king's ear. We'll have him hanged. Build a gallows outside our house and we'll just have a public hanging. How's that?" So he says, "Yeah, it's a great idea." So he builds a gallows, right? And so as he's going along, the king says to Haman one day, he says, "I want to ask you something." "Yeah?" "Well, I was wondering, what should I do if I have somebody that I revere and somebody I want to really do something good for?" Now, of course, Haman thinks he's talking about him, right? He says, "Oh, put him in the finest robes, parade him on the king's horses throughout the kingdom, throughout the palace, give him the king's ring, and let people bow down before him." The king says, "Oh, that's a great idea. Okay, get the things ready for Mordecai. I'm going to put him on that horse and give him my ring." He said, "All right. Okay, that's fine." So he goes goes back and tells his family, like, oh, wow, he fooled you, didn't he? Well, see, while this is all going on, Haman wants to put bigger things in motion. See, he goes to the king and he says that Mordecai, this is before the king says to revere him, he says, I'm not really into the Jews. I don't really think they like you, king, and I think they might probably try and do something to you someday, so I kind of want to do something about this. For you, of course. For you. Oh, well, what would you like to do? He says, well, I'd kind of like to exterminate him. Oh, as you wish. And so he says, well, when should we do this? And so they cast lots, or in Hebrew, pur. So pur, on the holiday of Purim, Im is plural, right? So the day of lots. He says, let's cast lots on the day that we should do this, and then we'll send out an edict. So he finds it, pulls the things. Okay, the 13th day of the 12th month, the Jews are to be wiped out throughout all the kingdom. And this is a huge kingdom, by the way. Okay. So he sends out the edict. It goes out to all the tribes and all the languages, translated. All the emissaries go out there, and everybody goes, okay, all right, well, on the 13th day of the 12th month, everybody's going to rise up with their forks and their knives and their sticks and whatever they got and wipe out the Jews. So, Esther knows nothing about this. He's heard nothing about it. Now, Mordecai's outside. He hears the talking. He gets a copy of this thing. He's like, oh my God, what have I done? And he puts on ash, sackcloth, and he's tearing his clothes. And Esther's like, what are you doing out there? Come in here and tell me what's going on. He says, no, I can't go in there. Put on some normal clothes and get in here and tell me what's going on. So Mordecai tells him. He says, well, all right, fine. I'm the queen, and the king has to summon me. And if he doesn't, he might kill me if I just try to go in of my own volition. But you know what? Fine. He says, yeah, that's true. I mean, imagine you say, well, I want to get myself killed, and then all your people get killed because of it. So, okay, well, you're my niece, and I love you, but yeah, this is what you're going to have to do. And so she goes, and she's waiting for the king, and Mordecai says, Esther, maybe you became queen for such a time as this. And so finally she gets the ear of the king, and she's waiting there, and the king says, okay, come on. She says, well, there's somebody out there who's been trying to do some really bad things. Oh, really? Tell me about that. She says, well, I will, but can you do something for me? I want to have a banquet. I want you to invite Haman and his family and all these people, and let's have a banquet in my honor. I didn't get that yet. I'm the queen. You're right. You deserve that. You're my queen. Okay. So they have the banquet, and they get there, and Esther says, let me tell you a story. And she starts explaining about this plot to kill the Jews. And she says, oh, by the way, did I ever mention I'm a Jew? Oh, who's doing this? Haman, your buddy over there. What? Yep. Well, what should we do about it? Well, Haman built the gallows. It's already ready. Why don't we put him on it? Ooh, I like that. And so they do. And so they hang him. And then they send out an edict that says that the Jews will not be harmed on this day. And then Esther says, you know what? It kind of gets my goat that the people were actually going to do this. They were going to wipe out my people. I mean, just because a piece of paper says they should do it? That bothers me. So why don't we do this? Why don't we send out another edict that says anybody who is planning on harming the Jews should be killed by the Jews on this day? Let's turn it all around altogether. And so on that day, 75,000 people were slain. Kind of bothersome. I mean, it's like things got fixed. Esther came up with a great plan. She got it all together. Right? But she had to go a step further and make sure that everybody got wiped out who was against them. So, I don't know. To me, it's troubling. It's troubling in the same way that I'm like, why did Dr. Blasey Ford come forward right now? I don't really get it. But then it comes to me, what's missing in this story of Esther? A biblical story. What never comes up throughout the entire book? Anybody want to give me? Give you another hint again. A biblical book that a certain somebody has ever mentioned in it. Yeah? Well, yeah, what's that? Yeah, what was God? What was God? God never is mentioned in the whole book of Esther. Not once. So does it mean that God wasn't there? No. Right? God was somehow working in this story in ways that we don't really see, we don't really know. Even in hindsight, we can kind of speculate, oh, okay, well, yeah, it was God who ended up making Esther queen at this point. I say all of that to say that as we watch and listen to these stories and these people coming forward, and it's not just about him, right? It's not just about Kavanaugh. It's not just about any particular person. This isn't a political sermon by any means. What it is as I'm reading through the story of Esther, I came to a realization that just in as much as I say, well, where is God in this story, but yet I know God is in this story, I realize that as a white, privileged male, I do not have the right to question her timing. I don't have the right to say, Dr. Blasey Ford, what are you doing here? Or to the other women who have come forward, to say, what kind of tricks are you up to? I don't have the right to see that. I don't have the right to question her thoughts or her timing. I see people posting on Facebook, well, if you're supportive, stand up and say something. Don't just click a heart or a like on my statement, right? The women are making their statements about all this, but the men, we're sitting back looking like, or, clicking the heart on Facebook, but not really saying anything. Well, I'm saying something. I'm saying something right now. It is not my right as a white, privileged male to question her timing. Nor is it for any other woman who says, me too. Because the timing, just a time as this, may have been the fact that she said, I could swallow my own pride, I could swallow my own shame, I could carry this hurt with me individually, even though it hurts. But now that he's going to have greater power to affect other people, in fact, even influence judicial decisions about things such as this, now I have to stand up and say something because I cannot let this happen on the scale that it will be for such a time as this. But yet every time we hear one of these stories, we say, oh gosh, it was a long time ago, he was in high school, he was in college, boys will be boys. I mean, boys will be boys. Why do we always use that term that way? Why is boys will be boys an excuse for men to act like fools? Why can't boys will be boys mean something good? Like they will act like upstanding young men. That they will set an example. Why can't it mean that? And so when I look at these passages in Numbers and the passage in Mark, I see this common theme. This theme that wants to take boys will be boys and turn it into men will act like good men. Because I see Joshua. Who's Joshua? He takes over for Moses, right? He's the one who leads the Hebrew people into the promised land. Well, back then, he wasn't such a hotshot, and he complains to Moses that these people are prophesying. You're the prophet around here, Moses. Do you believe this? These people are prophesying. And Moses says, oh, wouldn't it be nice if everybody here was a prophet? If everybody was speaking the good, the truth from the mouth of God's self. Joshua's like, oh, okay, sorry. The disciples talking to Jesus. There were people casting out demons in your name, but we told them to shut up because they weren't doing it. They weren't following us. What do you mean they weren't following us? Who's us? They weren't doing things the way that you like it. They weren't fitting the mold that you would have for them. And Jesus says, well, if they're not against us, they're for us. So why shouldn't they be out there casting out demons and healing people and bringing reconciliation and showing people hope and love and faith and things like this? Why shouldn't they be out there renewing the world and acting like good men? Tell me, Peter, Andrew, James, any of you want to tell me why there's something wrong with men acting like good men? And so when it all comes together, there's a lot that can be learned from Esther. There's a lot that can be learned from Dr. Blasey Ford. There's a lot that can be learned with this entire narrative and the way it all comes together. That it's time. It's time for men to act like good men. It's time for excuses to stop. Because certain people are standing up for such a time is this. You know,